Hey everybody, I'm Chef Tom with atbbq.com, and this is Garden Fresh Grilled Flatbread. Well, right about this time of year here in Kansas, our gardens are all overflowing with late summer produce, and we're always trying to figure out creative ways to utilize what we're harvesting. So today we're making a grilled flatbread. Really simple, essentially just pizza dough cooked over a charcoal flame right on the grill. And then we're gonna top it with a bunch of tasty, fresh ingredients, starting with a layer of an herbed smoked cream cheese. Now, this is fresh herbs out of the garden mixed with our Italiano smoked cream cheese that you can find in our smoked cream cheese video. Then we're gonna top that off with some fresh heirloom tomatoes, some grilled broccolini, and then a variety of quick pickled veggies straight out of the garden. Let's jump right in by making our dough. So our dough is 4 simple ingredients: water, yeast, flour, and salt. We're gonna start with 325 grams of warm water, about 110 degrees. Gonna help activate this dry yeast. 5 grams of yeast right there. We're gonna let that sit for about 5 minutes till it starts to foam up. All right, so now we're gonna go ahead and add our 500 grams of double-lot pizza flour and 10 grams of kosher sea salt. Now, using the dough hook attachment on the KitchenAid, we're gonna go second speed. We'll watch this just until it comes together into a ball and then set a timer for 8 minutes for it to knead. So once you get that clearing from the side, we set that timer for 8 minutes. All right, so once we've got that fully mixed, we're gonna transfer it to a container that's oiled with a little olive oil here. So you'll see that's probably right around the 1 quart mark. We're gonna wait until that's doubled in size, almost to the 2 quart mark. I've got one I started earlier today. This is what a couple of hours at room temperature looks like. Obviously risen till about doubled in size there. We're gonna turn this out and break it down. So we're gonna do 2 kind of larger flatbreads today out of this one batch. You could get a good 3 out of this batch if you want to, but we're gonna go just a little bit bigger. So that means all that we need to do at this point is just divide this in half. And then we're going to ball it up. Just pushing that back down into the center, down on the bottom, kind of pinch that together. And then we'll let that sit and rest for a good 30 minutes at least. At this point though, you can go ahead and put it in the fridge and wait until you're ready to use it. You'll get that skin nice and taut, nice stretched on the top. Pinch that bottom together. And we're just gonna go right here on a floured sheet pan. Cover that up with a little plastic wrap and throw it in the fridge. At this point, we're ready to fire up the grill. And today we're gonna be cooking on the Kamado Joe Kettle Joe. Just charcoal fire. We're gonna get it loaded up into the bottom of the firebox here, get some fire starters going, just let it do its thing. All right, so we're taking care to leave some airflow open. I like to do a little airflow here toward the front. Fire starters are looking good, taking hold, so we're gonna put our grates in place here, close the lid, and open the airflow up all the way. I mentioned earlier we're gonna make some quick pickles for our recipe today, and this is really simple, so we're just gonna throw it together really quick so you can see how it happened. So we'll go ahead and start with the pickling liquid. Equal parts, 3/4 cup water, 3/4 cup white vinegar. We're gonna add some seasonings to that. Cattleman's Grill Trail Dust, all-purpose seasoning, works for a great pickling spice. Just need a tablespoon of that. And we need to add a little bit of sweetness to that as well, so we're gonna use our maple smoked turbinado sugar, 1 teaspoon of that. Beyond that, we'll just add a couple cloves of garlic. Just get them smashed and peeled. And then we're gonna bring this up to a simmer. Meanwhile, we'll work on the actual pickled vegetables that are gonna go into the jar. You can pretty well use any veggies out of the garden you like for your pickles. Today we're gonna have some cucumbers here, breaking them down on the mandolin very carefully with that crinkle cut. We're also gonna do some carrots, some jalapenos, serranos, a little onion. You know, cauliflower would be great in here. You've got all kinds of options. I would let this simmer away for about 60 seconds here, just long enough to start to wake up all of those flavors, pulling from all the spices in the rub, from the garlic. All of that's getting infused. We're gonna turn it off now and we'll pour it over the top of our veggies here in a minute. The jalapenos and serranos I'm just gonna do by hand, a little bit easier than the mandolin. You can go as thick or thin as you like. This hot liquid is gonna kind of start to soften those vegetables as they go through their quick pickle process, but it's really just an overnight thing. This is something you want to do the night before, if not a couple days before. And this time of year, there's really no reason to not have a jar going pretty much at all times. So now we're essentially just going to take a little bit of each one and kind of layer them in here. Carrots, onions, peppers, cucumbers. Just working in layers until we get this thing fully packed. So we're gonna carefully pour the brine in now. You're not gonna need all of this liquid, so go slow. I do wanna make sure that we get all of these solids out of here. So we're gonna scoop out the garlic. Don't be freaked out by that oxidization. Not gonna hurt anything. And then this we're gonna throw a lid on, stick it in the fridge, and ideally you want this to sit at least 24 hours before consuming. Now, I mentioned earlier we're doing an herbed smoked cream cheese. And if you haven't yet, go check out our video on how to smoke your cream cheese. We did it 4 different ways, 4 different flavor profiles. We're utilizing one of those today, and that's the Italian flavor profile. So we're gonna start with that smoked block of cream cheese. I've got an extra one here, and then we're gonna build on that. So this is our block of cream cheese seasoned with Italian spices and seasonings. And we brought that back to room temperature just so it's nice and soft. I'm gonna throw that into our food processor. We're gonna add to that a couple ounces of goat cheese crumbles as well, just to stretch it and give it a little bit more interesting funk to it. And then we've got our herbs, our basil, our parsley, chives, and our dill. Now we're gonna start with equal parts, about 1/4 cup each of our parsley and our basil. We'll just break that down fairly fine until it's about 1/4 cup. I'm gonna do the same thing with our basil. Just popping off some of these nice leaves here. Shout out to Travis Russell over at Public Restaurant at Old Town for hooking us up with some really beautiful heirloom tomatoes and this basil today. When we're using a knife on these delicate herbs on the cutting board here, always try and keep in mind that we're sliding our knife through the herb rather than mashing it down. Because the more we mash that down, the more we just leave all those oils right here in the board rather than actually in the herb where we want it. Because that's where all that essence comes from, is from those oils inside the herbs. So all that's going in. Get our chives and our dill. Just need a couple tablespoons of chives. And then about 1 tablespoon of fresh baby dill. Last thing here, we'll do a couple cloves of garlic. Just gonna smash them, peel them, and toss them in. We'll let the food processor do the work. So fire it up, and we'll just whip this until everything's broken down. But once this is fully broken down, we're gonna have this really beautiful kind of pale green cheese spread to go on that first layer of our flatbread. All right, let's see how that tastes. Oh man, smokiness is awesome from that smoked cream cheese. The goat cheese adds just the right amount of funk, and then it's just fresh herbs, fresh green stuff. Big flavors, that's gonna be a great little base for our flatbread. All right, back at the grill now. You can see it's nice and hot in here. It's actually temping up about 675 degrees. I'm just gonna rake these around just a little bit. And then while we have it nice and hot here, we're gonna throw our broccolini on the grill. Let's just hit it with a little bit of olive oil first. A little bit of salt and pepper, that's all we're gonna do. And then just over direct flame to get some nice color and start to soften this stuff up a little bit. We'll close this up for now. We'll wait till it gets a little color. Probably about 5 minutes total now. This stuff is looking really nice. I'm gonna go ahead and pull it off. We softened it up. We've got some good crunch on it. That'll be a nice little chopped up topping for our flatbread. So now that we've got all the components for all of the toppings lined out, it's time to go ahead and stretch out our flatbread and get that on the grill. So we're just gonna go ahead and press this out and stretch it by hand. If you wanna go in a perfectly round circle like you would with pizza, that's great. If you wanna go with a little bit different shape, little maybe oblong, oval kind of thing, just sets it apart a little bit from being your typical pizza. I think that's what we're gonna do today. And this is essentially just gonna get grilled naked right there on the grill. Both sides over that direct charcoal fire, right there on the grates. Let's head over to the grill. So going directly on the grill grates, I'm gonna go ahead and go grab the other one of these and we'll throw them both on at the same time. So we've got these bubbles forming all over our flatbread here. We flip this over. Nice browning on the bottom. We're gonna get the same thing on the opposite side. This one's a little bit behind the other, but don't be afraid to flip this more than once. You can flip it as many times as you need to. We're just looking to get that dough cooked through and get a little bit of browning on the surface. All right, getting some nice crunch on these now. Good color all the way around. The dough is cooked through. We're ready to take these off. But we are ready to bring it all together now. So we're gonna start with our cream cheese, smoked cream cheese spread. Go ahead and get some of our broccolini on there. And then these beautiful fresh heirloom tomatoes. Just quartered those up. Then we've got our quick pickles. Go ahead and dig out a pile of these. This is a batch that I started earlier this week, so it's got a really good flavor on it right now. You're gonna love that briny pop because you got the fattiness going on and the cream cheese. You got that fresh tomato and then just a little bite of vinegar, especially with a little bite of that jalapeno. We'll finish each of these off with some fresh dill. We're gonna go ahead and slice this up and start getting a taste of it. Nice crunch on the bottom still, which is great when you have this many ingredients going on. You want a little bit of crunchiness so that this doesn't all turn soggy. How pretty is that? The first thing I noticed is the fresh tomato, and I love that because fresh is the first thing that comes to mind. The second thing, it's that spread, that smoky cream cheese, packed full of the fresh herbs, that little bit of goat cheese funk, which if you don't like the goat cheese, leave the goat cheese out. It's gonna be great without it. And then these little briny bites from the pickles. There's just so much going on. There's really a lot happening here, but it all balances out. Well, thank you guys so much for watching. Be sure to check out atbbq.com for all the products featured in today's video. If you enjoyed the recipe, hit that subscribe button. And if you have any questions or comments or there's anything you'd like to see me cook, let me know in the comment section down below, and let's be good to one another. For more recipes, tips, and techniques, head over to atbbq.com/thesauce. All things barbecue, where barbecue legends are made.